everybody, welcome back to your PHP series. In this video I want to talk about the if statement or conditional, and basically it's a lot like the ternary thing we just talked about, the operator, although it's a little bit more structured and easier to follow. So that's what we're going to be talking about now. I'm actually going to get some new chalk. I'm almost out of chalk thanks to you guys. Thanks a lot. My chalk is almost gone. And by the way, the ternary thing, operator we talked about, I believe it can also be called a tertiary, but I'm not too sure. Anyways, if it takes a test, it has a test, just like the old ternary thing had parentheses. Well, so does an if statement. So their parentheses would go here. And within these parentheses, we place a test or an expression, such as 5 plus 5 is equivalent to 10. And that will run true. Then we place curly braces, like that, and then we close the curly brace, like this. And we can place our code between these curly braces. By the way, you can adjust these however you want. So you could put this up here and put your code right here, or you can move this over here and put your code between here. All of that's pretty adjustable, I believe. So that should work for you no matter how you like it. But this is how I usually set up my if statements. Now, it's important, I want to mention one more thing. These loops and structures I'm going to be going into, they're known as control structures. What these do is they allow your program to flow in different directions, repeat things, or make it just easier to program. So, for example, when you have a web page, oftentimes you are not going to just be like, oh yeah, let's say, hey Jimmy, and put that at the top of the page. Because for one, what if the person's name is not Jimmy? What if the person's not signed in? Or what if they don't have a computer? I'm just saying. So oftentimes you'll have to be able to run tests on certain information to know if it's the appropriate time to write certain things. So we could, in simple code, we could say, if logged in, write happy birthday username. And then username can be a reference to another name from a database. So that's just an example of how these control structures are used. So it's important you understand the basics of all of them. They're not that complicated. Basically, if you understand the basics of these, then you understand the basics of all programming languages. And I know it's probably not necessary for me to go over these in super detail, but I decided to anyways because I like to. And I feel that really gets you used to PHP. So here's the basic if statement or if control structure or if conditional. It tests this. If it's true, then this is ran. If it's not true, nothing happens. So it just goes on. So we could say, if it's Caleb's birthday, say happy birthday. But if it's not, then just ignore this and keep going on with the code. See what I'm saying? We could also use an an else. And that goes right after this parentheses. Oh my gosh, my hands are so dry from this chalk, it's ridiculous. And then we have another one, and then we close this one. Like that. Cool? So, we can have another statement here, and basically it's going to test this. If it's true, it's going to run this one. If it's false, it's going to run this one. Right? So it's a conditional. I just said that, but I'm repeating myself. If it's true, it'll run the first one. The first brackets if it's false, it's going to run these second brackets. If you don't want it to do anything when it's false, then just erase this entire else clause. So if we recreate the ternary thing, it looked like this. Parentheses, question mark, value, value. So this is the basics of how it worked. We had a condition, we had a test here, then we had a value that it could be assigned, or a different value that could be assigned. Now, the thing with this is, it's always a value, it always returns a value. An if statement doesn't have to return anything, besides, it's just going to tell us if it's true, it's going to do something, if it's false, it's going to do something. But you see, if I have an if statement like this, if 5 plus 5 is the equivalent to 10, do this. Oh, well, there's nothing there. So this is not going to do anything. It's not going to assign any values, it's not going to return anything. But the ternary thing is going to return a value here or here. This one, we have to specifically tell it to return a value. So that's one more difference between these two things. And you will see both, but more than often you will see if statements. So yeah, that is the basic if statement. You may hear it as if conditional or if control structure, but you probably won't hear that one. And I think that's all I have to say for that. So hopefully that introduces you to conditionals. Basically, it tests an expression, is what we would call it, like 5 plus 5 equivalent to 12. Well, it tests it. Does this evaluate to true? Well, with PHP, there are certain things that evaluate to true, and then there's certain things that evaluate to false. This one would evaluate to false. So, what this true and false crap is, this true and false stuff is about, it's known as Boolean, or Boolean, whatever you want to call it. And it's basically a test of true and falseness, which we'll be getting into that in future videos. So that's all I have to say for this one. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. That would mean so much to me. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Yeah.